Welcome back, everyone. As the market nears a loss of nearly 300 points there on the Dow, down 287. You can see the S&P 500, NASDAQ trading lower as well. The NASDAQ actually getting the worst of it, down 1.6%, all amid tension between the U.S. and Turkey. That tension starting to escalate because Turkey is now announcing today it will increase tariffs on U.S. products like alcohol and automobiles. This is coming just days after we increased tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from Turkey. The president's saying today that tariffs will lead to great new trade deals. Will they? Joining me right now for reaction, Republican Congressman from Arizona, Congressman Andy Biggs. Representative, good to have you here.
Good to be with you, Trish.
I am steeped in economics, so I'm going to get this out here right away. I like the idea of using economic power to try and influence countries, and I feel very strongly you should exhaust all your economic resources before you ever work towards something else. Some folks that are more military prone may feel differently. I think there's a lot of economic power that we can use and that we are, sir, finally using in a meaningful way. But is it going to cause us pain in the interim?
Well, Trish, you're exactly right. I agree with you 100%. We are on a suboptimal path with a lot of these trade deals that we have. And you're right, there are people who are much more militaristic, but I'm much more soft power, economic power oriented as well. And we need to move to a more optimal path in trade, and that means fair trade. And that means sometimes to exit the path we're on, it's going to hurt a little bit. And I think it's going to hurt a little bit. There's going to be some short-term pain, but I tell you, in the long run, this is going to be beneficial to this country and to our economy and to the American people. And actually, it'll flow into the rest of the world, too, because if there's fairer trade deals, they're going to like dealing with the American economy. And that's a good thing for all of us.
You know, they may not like it, but we're actually trying to make things better for them. And that's the funny thing about this. You know, some people have said, well, this president is acting so protectionist, but he's made it very clear he does actually believe in free trade, in fair trade. But free trade means, you know, it's not right when they charge 20% on something, and by they I mean China and a bunch of other countries, and say we charge 2% or 0% tariff. I mean, how is that an environment that we can continue to compete in, sir?
Well, you can't. And even the Ricardian model that gets to this comparative advantage, and you want to get to the countries with the best advantage, he doesn't talk about just putting yourself in a disadvantage because of governmental policies elsewhere. He's making an assumption that everybody's going to treat each other fairly, honestly, and we're not seeing that with the Chinese and many of the other people that we trade with. And so we have to get out there. We have to leverage them, which is why I like the bilateral approach that this president is taking, because he's going exactly at our trade partners and saying, we need fair trade. We'll be fair with you, but you've got to be fair with us.
Yeah.
And that's
and
good
it could
for
be
us.
painful in the interim, but I think it's ultimately what we need to be doing, because otherwise, you know, we're going to wake up one day and we're not going to have the economic leverage. We're not going to have it anymore, and then what do we do? Let me turn to another topic, Congressman. There's a brand new CNN poll out that says 66% of Americans say Robert Mueller needs to wrap up his Russia probe by the midterms. Do you think he's gonna?
I don't think he's gonna. He should. He should have wrapped it up a year ago, but I don't think he's going to. I think that you know, he just wants to keep expanding it, and which is why he's prosecuting Manafort on old crimes, why he went after Papadopoulos and these guys on basically process crimes. He's trying to leverage somebody, anybody, to come against this president. He hasn't found it yet, and I think he's not going to give it up. It's a good gig for him, by the way, so I don't think he's going to give it up.
Well, you know, look, one would hope patriotism would win out before a good gig. Do you get any sense, Congressman, that he is questioning others, meaning the other side as well, meaning Hillary Clinton's camp? I only say this because if you're trying to figure out what the heck happened in 2016 and what the Russians were trying to do, wouldn't you want to find out from everyone as opposed to just singling out the Trump campaign?
Absolutely, you would. I mean, if it's an objective, if this would have been an objective investigation, we would have seen that the Mueller investigation, the Mueller team would have brought forward all of the information with regard to the FISA warrants, the dossier that was bad, Hillary Clinton and the DNC funding, the dossier, and actually working with Russians to impact the election.
I mean, you want to talk collusion, right? I only say this because as long as you're going to say that this Russian lawyer marches into Trump Tower and has a meeting, no money's exchanging hands, et cetera, all done pretty much out in the open for anybody to see, versus, you know, going through several layers to hire a British spy who used to have some sources in Russia, paying that British spy tons of money. I mean, you know, I don't think collusion is the right term to use in either case, but if you're talking about one, why not the other?
Well, absolutely right. I mean, it goes worse. It's worse than that. I mean, they're using Bruce Orr, Nellie Orr, you know, people who have these prejudice on these investigations. It's actually pretty insidious. It's a combination which is just right next to being a conspiracy, if you ask me. And the fact that he didn't investigate, that's a real problem.
Yeah,
that's
well,
a real problem.
You know, and we don't know, because we don't know what he actually really and truly is investigating. I would just hope, for the sake of the country, that everything is being looked at, because people deserve answers. And Congressman, you can stay on him and them to really demand those answers, I think, all around. So we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks, Trish.
Representative Biggs.